Good morning and welcome. My name is Helen Jennings. I'm a Stampin' Up demonstrator based here in the UK, and I've come on today to do a little bit of crafting with you. Excuse me, I've got things falling over at my feet. Got a little bit more voice today than I did have on Monday, so hopefully that's a good sign. But yeah, so welcome in. So whether you're here for the first time, or you come very regularly, it's always lovely to see you. Do pop on and say hello. Do like and share and subscribe and all of those sorts of things. Hello, Jane. So I hope you've had a good day. We're beginning our day here. I hope you've had a good day. You might well hear in the background, we do have the pitter patter of rain on the roof, which is always a bit of a nuisance, but it is what it is. So yeah, apologise if you can hear the rain in the background, and it does mean that it's a little bit darker in here than normal, but we're not going to have too much problem with shadows from the sunshine. So every cloud literally has a silver lining. So let me swap my camera over, bring my other camera in, and yeah, this is me, www.loveaduckie.co.uk. So do go and head over and check out my website, because there you'll find details of all my classes, my upcoming events. Yeah, lots of inspiration on my blog, and links to shops and all sorts of things over there on my website. So do go and head over there and check me out. And you can find me everywhere: Pinterest, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and even tentative first steps into TikTok. But look out for Love-a-Duckie in any of those places if you're hunting for me. So that is me. I will just do a bit of a plug. If you are here if you're here in the UK, if you're in the States or in Canada, and would like to join in this month's Chopped Challenge, then do get in touch. The Chopped Challenge, for anybody that's not heard of it before, it happens each month, and each month you pay a small fee, and with that fee you get sent out a kit. Everybody gets the same kit, same cardstock, paper, embellishments and things, same colours, and the challenge is that you then create a project alongside any other current Stampin' Up projects that you own, and you post a picture or send a picture to the demonstrator you joined with, and then everybody votes at the end of the month for their favourite project. So a nice little bit of fun. So I am still taking bookings for February's Chopped Challenge. If you would like to join that, I'll be sending those kits out over the weekend. So do get in touch to come and do some chopping and challenging. And if you are in the US or Canada and would like to know a little bit more about who you need to get in contact with, then do check out my website. There is a little page dedicated to the Chopped Challenge. Unfortunately, the demonstrator that was taking part in Australia is no longer taking part, so we don't have a Chopped Challenge representative in Australia at the moment. But yeah, we're here in the UK, Canada and Australia. You can join that. So here endeth the adverts, I think, for now. Let's have a look at what we're going to be playing with today. And today we're going to be looking at this Love and Happiness bundle. Now, I have to confess that on first flick through the catalogue, I really carried on flicking a little bit when it got to this one. But having seen some things being made with it and had a bit of a play myself, morning Lee, yeah, it really is rather pretty. And it's a bit of an unusual bundle in that you do get a stamp set. The stamp set is a complete sentiment stamp set, the Love and Happiness stamp set. So great for anniversaries, weddings, Valentine's, engagements, anniversaries, all of those things. And you do have some nice greetings that are good for your insides of your cards, as well as things to go on the front. So to the cutest couple ever, for my wife, for my husband, you're engaged, happy anniversary, my love. So yeah, so you two have something really special each other. Congratulations. So lots of sort of sentiments there for us to say, those wedding, engagement, Valentine, anniversary cards. And then you get alongside that, as part of the bundle, obviously you can get them separately, but as part of the bundle there is this Bouquet of Love hybrid embossing folder. So you get this embossing folder. Let's just see if I can grab a piece of white paper or something, whether that will help. Not ever so much, you can just see reflections of me. But we will be playing with it in a minute, so that will come up a bit more. But you can see that you've got this embossed detail all around the edge. It is a 6x6 3D embossing folder, and then you have this heart section in the middle, and then more embossing in the center there. So as a straight 3D embossing folder, it is beautiful, but then you get the dies that go with it. And this die particularly is important. These ones are, you've got some little flowers, you've got a smaller heart, you've got some leaves, you've got a couple of nice little sentiment strips there, sentiment dies, some labels, that's the word that I'm looking for. But this little die just here is a little bit extra special, because if you open up this embossing folder, you will see that you will be able to nest that die in that groove in the embossing folder, and you're able to run that through your machine all at the same time and both emboss and cut. So it will emboss both the center and the outside, but it will cut out that center heart. So really rather lovely, and obviously again fabulous for those engagements, wedding, Valentine, anniversary, all of those sort of cards that you want a love theme for. But it is also in its own right a really, really lovely floral embossing folder. I've got a big glass of water today. Let's have a bit of a slurp, a bit of a dry throat. Okay, so let's have a bit of a play with this. So I thought the first thing we do is we'd have a look at using it with some vellum. So I've got a piece of just ordinary white vellum cardstock here. I'm going to cut it to 13.9 deep. So if you were doing your mats on your front of the card, it wouldn't be your first size mat, it would be your second size. Because I'm then going to, I'm not going to cut it to 9.5 actually, I'm going to cut it to, let's go about 13, I think probably will work okay for what I want it to do. So there we have a piece of vellum, not exactly exciting visually, but yeah, really pretty. I'm actually going to run it through my embossing folder. Let's put that die in there. So I'm going to lay the die in my embossing folder. If it sticks to your fingers, it then jumps out again. I'm then going to lay my vellum over the top and then shut this piece down over there. Once you've got it all encased in there, it's not going to move. Now obviously this is a 3D embossing folder, so in order to run it through my machine, I am going to want my plate 1. I'm going to put it so that, as always, the hinge section is going to go through my machine first, and then I'm going to want the plate 4, which is the 3D embossing plate. So let's run that through the machine. Take that plate away. Move that out of the way. Let's open this up. So as always, when you emboss with vellum, it gives the sort of the look of parchment, as if I've spent hours with my parchment tools, because you get that sort of white look on it. So there we have our frame, our heart-shaped frame, all embossed, and there we have our little heart, all embossed. So you can either use them together, or you can use them as separate pieces. And I think on this particular card, I'm going to use it as separate pieces. I'm going to take a little bit of basic white. My craft room is in absolute chaos. Obviously, having lost a week last week, I'm busy playing catch up this week. So I've got stamp sets, dies, ink pads all over the place, as well as paperwork from finishing off my tax return at the end of last week. So it's yeah, it's all a bit chaotic, not what you need. Okay, so there we have our vellum, and I'm going to actually mount that onto some piece of white card so that that sort of pops through. So what I'm going to do, I've made it a bit wider because I'm just going to wrap that around this white card and adhere it to the back. That way we won't have any adhesive marks on the front. So let's just take some tear and tape. And stick that to the back. Now, obviously, this is the point where if you have had, you know, an invitation for a wedding, you will already have some indication of the colours for that wedding. But I've just picked out some smoky slate and some petal pink. So I thought that was rather a pretty combination. So let's have a, I think, smoky slate card base. Just a standard card base. And then we'll cut ourselves a mat to go on the top of there. So 10 by 14.4. And then we'll have our vellum wrap on the top there. Now we're going to take some smoky slate and petal pink. I'm going to do some die cutting with those flowers and things. We'll have some petal pink flowers. Smoky slate mini heart, and I've also picked out some soft sea foam just because I wanted a really quite soft green. So let's run some of these through. Bring back in our cutting plates. So let's have a heart, some flowers, and some leaves. And we're going to be able to run a few through in one pass. So we have this nice stitched heart, beautiful little stitched heart with cute little flowers. These little stitched leaves, which are rather sweet. So I think we'll have another set of leaves, another heart, and we'll have a few more flowers. It's nice when you get more than one of these little dies, but then you need to cut in bulk. Just cut a third leaf one on there. Okay, so we have 2 little grey hearts, 3 of these little stitched leaves, and quite a little bouquet of flowers. I'm going to bring in some of this petal pink ribbon as well. Ooh, ribbon scissors, where are you? Other end of the room. So let's wrap that round as well. So we've had a couple of engagements actually. So my friend's son got engaged not last weekend but the weekend before, which was very exciting. And then, even more exciting for us probably, last weekend my daughter got engaged, so that was lovely. So weddings to look forward to, but for now engagements to celebrate. So I had actually got this scheduled the last Friday before COVID hit. So I wouldn't have been able to share that news with you then, because although I knew it was on the cards, I obviously wasn't going to spill the beans last weekend, but this week we can share that lovely news. So yeah, there you go. These things are all meant to be, aren't they? Let's pop some glue on the back of there, and we'll stick that down to our smoky slate. I do like petal pink and smoky slate together. It's quite a nice combination for baby cards as well, particularly if well, smoky slate and anything, whether it's you go sort of very neutral gender neutral sort of so saffron, or whether you go for a blue or a green or one of those subtle colours, works really well with smoky slate. So we're going to pop our sentiment in the middle there, and then we'll have some of these bits around the edge. Let's come back to our... Now, actually, although that the cutest couple ever is really lovely, I'm not sure that it fits this style of card. Might just go with a congratulations and then build everything up round it. What colour to stamp in? Might stick with smoky slate actually. Or wood, if I could see my smoky slate. There it is. Congratulations. Now let's grab some dimensionals. Looking as if we're a little out of dimensionals over this end of the room. Let's grab some new ones. I'm going to quite press that down until I'm happy with where it is. Look there. And there. Bring in a few of these flowers. Just put some little spots of glue on them. Some leaves. I think we'll perhaps come in with some mini dimensionals on this top section. bit of balance. Come out. Let's add a bit of glue to that one and tuck that underneath. Let's bring in our final leaf. Now, do we want a bow on there, or a knot, or just leave it as it is? I think a bow is quite sweet. Let's just have a bit of a fiddle with that. But we're happy with it. We'll come in there with some glue dots. Nearly at the end of this roll of glue dots. Then I think this with some of the champagne rhinestones. They always tend to go quite nicely with the petal pink. Yeah, so quite a nice colour combo, sort of almost a combination of sort of nice, clean, modernish colours. But really pretty, sort of traditional floral background. It's almost sort of like bridal lace going on in the background of that card. So there's one. So that's using that embossing folder and running it through a on some vellum. Now, the other thing I had thought of, which I was originally going to do with this card, was actually you can always change the shape of that aperture in the middle. So we could have just come in, we could have added some petal pink and grey circles perhaps in the middle there, or petal pink and white, or grey and white, and added the pink flowers or whatever. So we could have changed up the shape of that centerpiece. So if you don't want a heart in the middle, if it's for a birthday or something and you didn't want it to be a heart, or actually this sort of really soft look, particularly with the grey, would make quite a good sort of sympathy card, but you wouldn't necessarily want to be sending that with a big heart in the middle. So just something like those stitched circles, that large stitch circle will cover that heart aperture so that you could have a different shape altogether in that center piece. So you don't only have to think of this embossing folder as being tied in with the hearts, you can use it with lots of other shapes as well. So that's that little card, and obviously I would put an insert in that as well, perhaps just add a bit of stamping. We do also have our little vellum heart just here, that you could do fun things with. So other things that you could do with that, you could turn it over and add some colour into the back, either with your markers or your watercolour pencils, change up the colours completely. You could just use it as a background and then add in some flowers on it. So you could just have the heart as a focal piece on a card, and you could cut out, use the die to cut out a heart back for it, so that you've got something to stick to it. And then sort of, if you were putting things like flowers on, you could just put some little blobs of glue underneath where your flowers had been, so that you didn't see the adhesive. So none of that will go to waste. I am going to just grab a scrap piece of, well, a small piece of white card. I'm just going to run this through here. I'm going to die cut it as well, so let's put our die in there. So this is just ordinary white card. It doesn't have to be ordinary white card, it could be another colour card, but I'm just doing a bit of an experiment. So this isn't something that I have tried. I don't know how it's going to work, so why not do it live and see? Nothing like living dangerously, is there? Let's take out all my other mats and just run this through with that one embossing mat. So I don't know whether hybrid folders will be something we see some more of. Obviously we've had the folders where you can, things like the shells that you can run your die cuts through. I think this is the first one we've had that the die actually fits into the gap. So there we are, that's just embossed in white. It's really beautiful. You could also say, you can do all sorts of things. I could get my blending brushes out, we could blend some colour over there, all sorts of things. But what I did wonder, as I say, this is going to be an experiment, is I did wonder what this would look like if we, I don't know why I've just done that really. We took our Versamark and just swiped that gently over the top. And then I've got some heat and stick powder here. So let me bring in that little piece of paper. Sprinkle on that heat and stick. Somewhere just here I've got some tweezers. I don't want to tap it too hard because I don't want all the heat and stick to come off. Let us put that straight back away in there. Let's not pass go or collect £200. Let's just do it now. White on white, I can't see this very well, so it is going to be just a quick burst with a heat gun, because obviously heat powder turns really quickly and you don't want to overheat it. So I'm going to trust that some of that has melted. Bring out my gilding flakes. Well, some of it obviously had. You'd probably be better off doing this on a different colour card, just so that you could see just exactly where your heat powder had stuck. But that is rather pretty, isn't it? So if you've got something like a golden wedding anniversary that you were creating a card for. How about adding in some gilding flakes, and say that was done in quite a hurry. You could make sure that you got a bit more on there than I did, but really rather pretty. So yeah, use it with your gilding flakes. So add a bit of, and you could likewise use it with embossing powders as well. Do exactly the same thing, just Versamarking in your embossing powders, and you'd get a similar sort of effect. In fact, that would be more of a one step rather than a two step. You might be able to see better where your embossing powders were, but that's just a bit of fun. Right, the last thing we're going to do is have a play with something else. Let me just bring in a toilet roll. And I'm going to say, I'm sure I'd got somewhere my water spritzer. And I'm going to just tear a few sheets of this toilet roll. Got about 4 there. I'm going to bring in, this is a laminated mat, just so apologise for the shine on it, but just because I'm going to be adding some water. So let's spritz this toilet roll with some water and add up these layers. All the spritz, another layer, and we'll give that a good spritz as well. So this is going to be quite wet, and that's absolutely fine. It is something that we're going to leave to dry. So there is a, here's one I made earlier version. Let me find our embossing folder, and I'm going to take actually yes, I'm going to take Gorgeous Grape, and I'm just going to wipe that over the surface of this embossing folder. I'm just going to concentrate mainly on that centre heart piece, and then we'll pick up our soggy toilet roll and lay it on there, and then we're going to run that through the machine. Take one from our now plate 4. So now I've got a nice squidgy mess. So what I will do is I will just, when I've finished, go and throw this embossing folder, run it under the sink. But what we've got here now is what happens with the toilet paper when you spritz it like that and emboss it. It all fuses together to create, once it's dry, a quite sturdy, thick embellishment or background or whatever that can, you know, you can rough up the edges and things because it's just a bit, you can tear the edges and do all sorts of things when it's finished. But yeah, quite fun. So that is one in Gorgeous Grape. Now I would just go and sit that on top of a radiator or leave it somewhere to dry. You can dry it off a little bit with the heat tool, and the one that I've got over here I did finish drying with my heat tool, but I would just tend just to create a few of those and go and lay it on top of the radiator to dry, and then you can cut them out, do what you like with them. And now I'm just going to pop that behind me. quite like that gorgeous grape colour. So here's the one I did earlier. I actually did, I'm going to move this because this has now been spritzed on and is damp. Let's move that out of the way. And let's bring in, here's one I did earlier. Now this one actually is, I used Highland Heather. So it's a much softer colour, but it's quite thick. It's got quite a nice sort of soft feel to it. As I say, I've sort of cut round this roughly, but I could have kept it bigger and sort of torn it into a square or all sorts of things. So quite fun using toilet paper or kitchen roll or anything like that, spritzing it and creating, it's like a handmade paper if you've ever made paper by hand. And I'm sure that you could sort of sprinkle glitter and things in it as well if you wanted to, as you're spritzing it. If you fancied doing that, it might be quite nice to see what would happen if you spritzed it and sort of layered some sequins in it or something. But we have our little Highland Heather sort of faux handmade paper heart just here that has been embossed. So I'm going to grab from over here. I've got, and actually with it being adding water added to it and looking paler, it does actually look like fresh freesia rather than Highland Heather. So I have grabbed some of this celebration paper here. So this is the Friendly Hello celebration paper, and you get the paper and the paper and stamp set with this one. I'm just looking to see if I've got a square, yes, of that paper. So I've picked out this fresh freesia paper from that pack, and I have got some Highland Heather cardstock, and I've got a bit of gorgeous grape ribbon there. So I thought we could have a little bit of play with some of those. So I think what we'll do is we'll cut ourselves, we'll have a square card base, I think. So if I cut this to 14.9-ish that way, so that's just under 6 inches square, and that is the biggest square card we can get out of a piece of metric card. In the US, it would need to be 5.5 inches wide. You'd have a 5.5-inch square card then. So this one is probably more like 5 7/8, whereas yours in the US would be 5.5, but would equally work as well. I'm going to take this paper and I'm going to cut it 14.4 square. That's going to sit in our background just there. Now I'm going to take this paper, and I want to be able to see quite a bit of that paper in the background. So I'm going to go, let's go 12.9. We might go down a bit more yet. Let's have a look. Yeah, no, I think I'm going to come down. I think I'm actually going to make it 11.9. And I think I'm going to bring in another piece of Highland Heather that is 12.4. So when I get round to blogging this, I will do you some equivalent measurements. It's rather pretty, isn't it? Right, I'm going to take this piece here and I'm going to emboss it. Oh. So let me just clean up my embossing folder. a kitchen towel. Let's give that a bit of a wipe. It won't matter if there's a little bit of purple still on there, but we should be okay. And I'm going to emboss this paper just to give that some texture. Run that through. So that paper now isn't only spotty, it's got this flowery background on it as well. Rather fun. And we can just about see where that heart is layered. And then I've got my faux handmade paper. It can sit in there. Wondering actually whether to add in a vellum square as well, just for a bit more interest. Right, and we'll have some ribbon as well. I would if I could find the end. Here we are. I think I'm going to have a swirl of ribbon. Okay, let's stick some of these bits together. So we'll start with this paper. Don't know whether it particularly has a direction, but we'll go that way. And then we'll stick our embossed paper to our and take my vellum doily and just put some spots in the middle there, and that's the point of my heart and that's the top of my heart, so I'll just line those up like that. I can find it's jumped off. Find my double-sided tape. Back of that looks quite pretty too. Let's just add some double-sided tape to there. Of course, this paper is very fibrous because I don't know how well that's going to peel off. I think we'll go with a different tactic, and we will stick down our twirl of ribbon rather than trying to take the backing off of that. Let's bring in that little block, stick that on there for a minute. Will not be beaten. There's a way. Ribbon scissors, snip that off. Bring in some the larger dimensionals to pop on the back of there. And let's just peep, and that's the bottom of that heart. Yeah, and that's about the top. It's not going to show through, it just helps to give a bit of direction. Let's have a little look at our sentiments for this one. Let's have a wedding wishes. Wedding wishes. Okay, I'll grab this. Oh, I've got another little bit of Highland Heather somewhere, just there. And let's bring in the gorgeous grape ink. Wedding wishes. I'm going to bring in, I really like this little die just here. That's a lovely shape. Let's die cut our wedding wishes. Find all my plates. Where would I like my wedding wishes to go? I'll give that a bit of a curl, I think. Hop. Might double up the dimensional in the middle there. Then just come in with a little glue dot each end. She said that might be wishful thinking looking at that sheet of glue dots. There's one. Oh no, we have got another one. And there's two. So blue dot each end and 2 dimensionals in the middle has given it that bit of a curve. I've actually grabbed some pastel pearls. So these originally came out with the hydrangea. Hydrangea sweet. I think it does just need some little flowers. And leaves. I'm going to grab some gorgeous grape. And have a bit of gorgeous grape and Highland heather going on. Just going to swap the flowers to the Highland heather, and we'll have a bit of both. A bit of Highland heather and gorgeous grape, and then we can mix and match. Let's have a look. Just pop these little dies on here so they don't wander off. Just tucking those in there. That's better, isn't it? I think it doesn't necessarily need much more than that. It just needed a little bit of something else. Tuck this leaf behind here, and then down this bottom section. Then have big flower, little flower, and some leaves. That's better. Okay, so let's clear the decks slightly and just bear with me 2 seconds. You look at those. can ignore that doorbell, ladies. Mr. Brown with a stamping up order has to be done. So there you go. While you look at those, we've got 2 different colourways. Got the sort of purples and things going on here, and we have those greys and petal pinks, and then this little bit of gold foiling on there. Oh, got something funny going on with my bit. It doesn't want to let me change my camera for some reason. Okay, well, ladies, I hope you have enjoyed those cards, and we will be back very soon. I will have a play and see why I've suddenly got a little magnifying glass that just wants to magnify things rather than come on and say goodbye to you. But I will be back very shortly, hopefully back on Monday. Have a fabulous weekend, and see you all very soon.